What's up everyone, it's Wizard101 back again with another Wiz video, and today I'm going to be talking about the Selenopolis update. I played through most of the questline with Wizard Pluto, and there was definitely some interesting stuff in there, and I'll be showing some of that footage in the video. There's definitely lots of good with this update, but there was also some bad with the update, and today I want to talk about everything related to it. My points are going to be split into sections, so if you're only interested in specific parts, feel free to skip to those. Keep in mind that this is all a test realm, and KI can still change things before launch. Before we get started, 90% of you watching are not subscribed, so if you enjoy the content, please make sure to leave a like and a sub as it really helps out the channel. And with all that being said, let's get right into the video. Now I want to start off with some good parts of the update. First of all, the graphics update that Croc received was really good. I was really excited for this update for that reason mainly, and they delivered. The differences are like night and day between the two versions, and I feel like this is going to be really good for new players who might have been turned off by the 2008 graphics that Croc originally had. The Blended Grove is one of the most beautiful areas in the entire game in my opinion, and some of the areas with bosses were really well designed as well in my opinion. Definitely a very good graphics revamp. The gear they released is also a huge positive. If you don't know about the Selenopolis gear, it's equivalent to the Reaver gear with stats, and there are a lot of people who still have the Reaver gear because they didn't want to deal with the grind of the Nightmare Dungeon. It's always good to have alternatives, and I'm happy for those who didn't want to farm Reaver gear as they now have an option to get good PvE gear other than the Nightmare Dungeon. The concept of spell weaving is also really cool. Personally, I'm not really that into dual schooling for PvE, but looking at the community in general, there's a surprising amount of people who do want to do dual schooling in PvE, and I'm happy that KI is moving forward with making dual schooling more viable for those who want to do it, even if I do think KI could have implemented it in a much better way, which I'll be talking about later in the video. Another positive is that, while not confirmed yet, there are leaks out there saying that Wizard City is going to be free to play after this update, which is a major win for the community if this is true. It's a change that many people in the community have been asking for years, and I even mentioned it in my video about changes KingCell should make actually, which is kind of funny. That video probably isn't going to age very well now. Overall though, good on KingCell for going through with making Wizard City free. I hope this eventually extends to Krokotopia and the rest of Arc 1, but at least right now things are looking slightly better for the paywall. There's also the tutorial and questline changes with the Archmastery quest, the Rochambeau or Gambit tutorial, and the new Celestia prequest. The Archmastery prequest is a good feature for those who didn't know about school pips and want a better introduction to the system than just randomly getting school pips whenever they get Archmastery rating. Overall, it's a good change. The new Celestia prequest also addresses a common criticism of Celestia that Morganth is just randomly revealed at the end by introducing the Umber Legion before Celestia actually starts, which is Morganth's army, and of course introducing, or at least foreshadowing, Morganth. I also think that the Rochambeau or Gambit introduction in Selenopolis was really good and did a good job in introducing Gambits to people who didn't know about them, or maybe were just getting introduced to them for the first time. With all those positives being said, let's get into the potential negatives of this update if it releases as is right now. One of the biggest issues I see right now is the Bazaar change. If you don't know about Empowers, they're treasure cards that sell for a very large amount of gold, and many players, both newer and older players, use them to get gold. It's actually the only accessible way for newer players to get good pets from the kiosk in my opinion because of the high cost of hatching. Or hatching with a pet in the kiosk is often upwards of 100k if you're not getting a lend from someone. This update, as is right now, will significantly reduce the selling price of Empowers as well as many other items in the Bazaar. Almost every item is selling for less now, and that'll make it very hard to get gold for newer players, especially as the only good option they would have to sell items would be Quick Sell, which sells for much less than the Bazaar does right now. The change in the price of Empowers also directly affects a trading community which has been around for years called Gamma's Trading Post, which is a community dedicated to in-game trading with Empowers and is really good for players who want some form of trading in-game, with how restrictive Wiz can be with official in-game trading being basically non-existent. Many players use Gamma's Trading Post to get TCs, packs, membership, a lot of things with Empowers, and now that can potentially be ruined by this update. It really shows that the devs don't care what the community can do together or systems that they develop on their own. They want people to play the game their way, and they don't want the community coming together on anything that they remotely disagree with. It's just test realm though, and it's possible that this is just an unintended effect of Bazaar stacks changing, but I honestly hope that they revert the prices back, or if they're against Gamma's Trading Post, they should at least make something that's an official alternative with in-game trading. The next thing I want to talk about is the questline of Selenopolis. Now let me make this clear that the spell weaving quests are not a part of the main Selenopolis questline. They're separate tasks and will be treated as such in this video. Selenopolis is also technically mainline content. It's going to be required to progress in the storyline, and you will not be able to skip it when the new world comes out. Selenopolis itself has a good story, but questing through it isn't very enjoyable at times. The outside areas of the world are very beautiful, and I wish there were more quests out there, but you spend a large amount of time questing in these halls, which are just remodeled croc hallways with different colors depending on which hall you're in. Selenopolis had a lot of potential, especially with the beautiful areas on the outside, but the areas you're actually questing in leave much to be desired. I'm not going to go too hard on KingsIsle because it's their off year since they just ended an arc, and they said they weren't releasing a new world. But with how long Selenopolis is, and by making required content, they did kind of release a new world that just wasn't as good as the most recent worlds in my opinion. It's mainline content with no level cap increase, which they said they weren't going to do a level cap increase to be fair. It really throws away any incentive to this world when you don't get any new spells from doing the main questline. Keep in mind weaving is separate from this questline. There's no gear set for people who already have Reaver to go for, and there's just not a ton of things the story has going for it other than bringing back some old characters many would enjoy to see again. I really think this world can be an amazing side world. I would enjoy playing through it once or twice, maybe on the Fire in the Storm, because the story is actually pretty good, but it really shouldn't be required content that you need to play through before moving on to the new world that they're going to release next year. It doesn't really feel like you're progressing into the new arc. It feels like a one-off adventure where you rescue your friends and defeat a new enemy who wants to hurt you and your friends, which can be amazing side content. I feel like if they just make it like Wysteria, Grizzlehiem, or Wintertusk where you're not required to do the quest, but it's always an option for you if you want to play through this story, it would be a really good update, and I would be 100% down with Selenopolis being a side world. I also think that spell weaving and fusion are going to become major points of contention for many in the community at this point. As weaving is right now, the spells other than blades and maybe converts won't really be used that much if at all in PvE, and only a few of these spells will even be viable in PvP from what I've been hearing from some other people. I'll put some of the spells from Fusion on the screen right now, and as you can see, a lot of them are gambits, a lot of them just really aren't that good for PvE. Certainly not good enough to replace your 7-pip AoE or even Wallaru AoE for that matter. It's really disappointing to see because I know a lot of PvE players who are really excited to use spell weaving to dual school while questing. These spells really aren't it if that's what you're looking to do. The grind of spell weaving is also going to be a major issue if they release it as it is right now. You're going to have to do these things called labors to level up weaving, which is basically just doing very unenjoyable grinding to gain access to the feature. I'll flash up an example of labors for balance weaving right now, thank you to the Empyrea, and as you can see, it's just a lot of repetitive grinding to boost playtime. I don't really see how any of these labors are going to be enjoyable for players, and it seems like it's just going to be another thing like Spellments, where KingsIsle wants people to mindlessly farm mobs for them, and a lot of people are just going to end up botting them because it's unenjoyable, or they just might avoid weaving entirely because of all of this grinding. I really hate the direction KingsIsle is going in when it comes to releasing features like these just to make players do mindless and tedious tasks just to get access to them. It honestly seems like a desperate attempt for them to boost playtime, and a lot of players probably won't even end up leveling weaving because of these labors. It honestly just feeds into the point of people criticizing KI for wanting people to treat Wiz like it's a part-time job, which apparently they haven't been very receptive of if they're planning to release an update like this. KingsIsle has actually gone on record saying that they plan to make these labors harder on release, which is definitely not a good idea, and I imagine players would complain a lot if they end up going through with releasing the system with these labors as they are right now or making them worse. I feel like they should revamp their system on how to level spell weaving and make it feel like an actual game with people having fun as opposed to mind-numbing grinding and players feel forced to do. The last negative I want to bring up doesn't really concern the update itself, but more test realm this year, and that test realm this time especially was extraordinarily buggy. I know it's test realm and there will always be some bugs present in it, but some of the bugs just didn't allow progression in weaving or progression in the story, and they even had to reset test realm due to how bad the bugs were, which set back progress from some of my friends who were trying to get very far into test. And overall, it was just a bit of a disaster this time around. I just hope that with future updates there's better planning, or at least they delay test realm a little bit, because I know most people would prefer a slightly delayed test realm over one that's nearly unplayable when it initially launches. Overall though, I think this update has the potential to be really good as long as they work out some of the issues present within it right now. Free Wizard City is a huge step forward, the new croc graphics are great, the new tutorials and pre-quests are good changes, weaving and fusion are really cool, and I hope that they give them more uses in casual PvE in the future, even if there aren't many in this update. I do hope that they change the god-awful leveling system for weaving though, and Selenopolis does have a good story even if I do wish it was side content as opposed to mainline. If they tweak some things with the feedback they've been given from Test Realm, I think this update can be great. Potentially one of the best depending on how much they change from feedback. With all that being said, I hope you all enjoyed the video. I want to hear your own thoughts and opinions on Selenopolis and the update in general in the comments below, whether you agree or disagree. I want to start a discussion about the update and the new systems they're releasing. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to leave a like and a sub. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.